At the very heart of the American political landscape, a profound disturbance has arisen, precipitated by an announcement that portends the definitive demise of one of the most ambitious and concurrently divisive infrastructural endeavors of contemporary America. Descending like a bolt from the azure heavens, the decision has been rendered, a determination poised to fundamentally alter the allocation of federal financial resources and to irrevocably seal the destiny of a monumental undertaking upon which billions of dollars have already been committed and tremendous aspirations were once fervently held. At the epicenter of this swirling vortex of controversy stands California's high-speed rail initiative, a visionary aspiration that, over an extensive period of years, has gradually transformed into a project mired in profound disappointment. It is precisely the future viability of this ambitious scheme that has been plunged into uncertainty by the unyielding verdict emanating from the paramount echelons of governmental authority. This narrative transcends a mere dispassionate chronicle of funding termination. It encapsulates a compelling saga concerning the confrontation between prominent political figures, the unfulfilled pledges made to countless millions of the nation's inhabitants, and the fundamental inquiry that persistently vexes every governing body: how to accurately discern between prudent, forward-thinking investments in the nation's future and an insatiable drain upon the public purse. The subsequent developments, unfolding with a dizzying, almost kaleidoscopic rapidity, have starkly illuminated the deep chasms that exist within the relationship between the federal government and one of the Union's most significant constituent states, thereby metamorphosing what is, in its essence, a technical matter into a battleground for a vigorous ideological contest, the ultimate resolution of which will undoubtedly resonate with far-reaching and significant ramifications for years to come. With an undisguised sense of jubilation and in his characteristic manner of direct communication with the populace, former President Donald Trump delivered a pronouncement of considerable force, which he characterized as a momentous act of liberation for the American people from a significantly burdensome financial obligation. Through his pronouncements disseminated via the Truth Social platform on Wednesday, he unequivocally declared the absolute and irreversible termination of all federal financial backing for the Californian railway undertaking. To the law-abiding, tax-paying, and diligently working citizens of the United States of America, I am absolutely delighted to reveal that I have officially liberated you from the obligation of funding California's notoriously overpriced and utterly futile high-speed train to nowhere, Trump emphatically stated, thereby marking the definitive conclusion of his prolonged and vocal critique of the project. His communication was imbued with a palpable sentiment of profound satisfaction, stemming from what he perceived as the faithful execution of a duty owed to those who had placed their trust in him. Within the ambit of his official statement, he specifically singled out and conveyed his sincere appreciation to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, underscoring the Secretary's absolutely crucial and indispensable role in the successful implementation of this decisive action. I am immensely grateful to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, Trump asserted with unwavering confidence, for ensuring that not a single cent of federal funding will ever again be allocated to this so-called new scum scheme. This particular turn of phrase unequivocally conveyed Trump's perspective that the project should not be viewed merely as a governmental misstep, but rather as a deliberately orchestrated stratagem, thereby establishing a direct and unequivocal linkage between the initiative and the current gubernatorial leadership of the state of California. Donald Trump, in further articulating his perspective, presented his attentive audience with truly astonishing financial figures, firmly asserting that the regrettably unsuccessful endeavor had already incurred a cost for American taxpayers amounting to hundreds of billions of dollars. This immense sum, he contended, had been irresponsibly squandered, as the nation had never received the anticipated, fully functional and operational rail system that had been promised. His impassioned rhetoric effectively painted a vivid tableau of monumental mismanagement and the crushing disappointment of dashed hopes. The railroad that was promised to us, he declared unequivocally, thereby delivering a definitive and final judgment upon the entirety of the initiative, still does not materialize and in all likelihood never will. These pronouncements transcended mere criticism. They resonated with the somber finality of an epitaph inscribed upon the tombstone of a grand and ambitious design that, in his deeply held conviction, had devolved into a voracious phantom, systematically devouring substantial real-world financial resources. Almost immediately following this significant and highly publicized political declaration, official confirmation emanated from governmental bodies, thereby bestowing upon the former president's pronouncements the considerable gravity of a formal and legally binding decision. The United States Department of Transportation, in its official communiqué, comprehensively corroborated the articulated position. In a widely distributed statement, the agency clearly and unequivocally informed the public that it had definitively terminated all further appropriations of approximately $4 billion in unspent federal funds, which had previously been specifically designated for the ambitious implementation of the high-speed rail project within the state of California. This decisive action effectively transformed a potent political declaration into an undeniable financial reality. A pivotal figure at the heart of this critical process, as the official communications explicitly clarified, was Secretary of Transportation Sean P. Duffy, who provided a meticulously detailed justification for the momentous decision. He explained that this significant action had been meticulously preceded by an exceedingly thorough and comprehensive review process. According to his comprehensive explanation, the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, had undertaken an exceptionally diligent compliance review, the findings of which ultimately led to a profoundly disappointing conclusion. The review conclusively determined that the California High-Speed Rail Authority, CHSRA, the very entity vested with the responsibility for the project's execution and successful completion, had systematically and persistently failed to fulfill its key obligations that were clearly and unequivocally stipulated within the explicit terms of its federal grant agreements. United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy squarely placed the entire measure of responsibility for the unfortunate circumstances directly upon the shoulders of the state authorities, leaving absolutely no room for any potential ambiguity or misinterpretation. "This is California's fault," he stated with an unwavering and resolute confidence that left no doubt about his conviction. "Governor Newsom and the complicit Democrats have enabled this waste for years." His pointed words sounded like a direct and unsparing accusation of political indulgence and profound financial irresponsibility. The Secretary specifically underscored the critical point that federal appropriations are by no means a carte blanche, nor do they represent an inexhaustible and limitless source of funding. "Federal dollars are not a blank check," he continued, his voice firm and clear. "They come with a promise to deliver results." In his considered opinion, it was this fundamental and essential condition that had been egregiously breached by the Californian side. After over a decade of failures, concluded United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy, his statement resonating with finality, CHSRA's mismanagement and incompetence has proven it cannot build its train to nowhere on time or on budget. To truly comprehend the immense magnitude of what has unfolded and the profound depth of the dissatisfaction voiced by those who have scrutinized this ambitious undertaking, one must journey back to its genesis, to the very inception of this monumental endeavor. The narrative commences in the year 2008, a pivotal moment when the electorate of California, through their collective voice, gave their assent to a bond measure amounting to $10 billion. These substantial financial resources were designated to function as the foundational capital, the initial investment required for the construction of a cutting-edge, technologically advanced high-speed rail network. The initial vision presented was nothing short of spectacular. This vital new artery of steel was conceived to bridge the geographical and economic chasm between the state's two most populous and influential metropolitan centers, namely San Francisco and Los Angeles, with the grand aspiration of having this ambitious undertaking brought to fruition by the year 2020. The financial projections at that nascent stage estimated the total expenditure to be a considerable $33 billion. It represented a bold and inspiring aspiration for a future where intercity travel between the northern and southern expanses of the Golden State would be characterized by unparalleled speed, remarkable convenience, and a steadfast commitment to environmental sustainability. However, as the inexorable march of time continued, those initial, overwhelmingly optimistic prospects began to demonstrably diminish. The project became ensnared in a complex web of innumerable unforeseen delays, protracted legal entanglements, contentious disputes concerning the precise routing of the proposed lines, and, most critically, a relentless and seemingly uncontrollable escalation of projected expenditures. The original cost estimations were revealed to be not merely inaccurate but hopelessly divorced from the burgeoning financial realities. Faint and diminished echo of its former, resplendent glory. Instead of the envisioned primary artery design to seamlessly connect the state's most vital economic powerhouses, the singular focus has regrettably been narrowed to the construction of a comparatively modest segment, extending for a distance of 171 miles. This particular segment is intended to serve as a link between the cities of Merced and Bakersfield, both situated within the fertile expanse of California's Central Valley. Even when considering this substantially diminished iteration, the projected cost has regrettably ballooned to truly staggering and almost unfathomable proportions. According to the most recent available assessments, the estimated expenditure now stands at a formidable sum of up to $35 billion. This astonishing figure signifies that an amount exceeding the original projected cost for the entirety of the initial, expansive undertaking is now allocated to be expended upon a considerably more circumscribed section of railway track. Furthermore, the targeted completion date for this significantly truncated segment has been recalibrated and pushed far into the future, now slated for the year 2033. Against this backdrop of these profoundly consequential developments, and in the wake of the subsequent and deeply disappointing official announcement emanating from the Trump administration, there has, to this present moment, been no discernible official public reaction from the current leadership of the state of California. Governor Newsom has, thus far, not issued a formal response to the aforementioned announcement, and his conspicuous silence serves only to amplify the palpable tension and pervasive uncertainty that currently shroud the future prospects of this project, which has endured such prolonged and arduous struggles.